Welcome back to the Top 1% Book Club.
It's great to be here.
Today, we're diving deep into Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Ah, a classic.
You've probably heard of it,
Oh, for sure.
but have you really internalized its wisdom?
It's one of those books that you can keep coming back to
Right.
and always find something new.
Exactly. And today, we're going to uncover those timeless principles for personal and professional success that Covey lays out.
Absolutely.
We'll focus on key habits,
Okay.
like proactivity,
Yeah.
beginning with the end in mind, and synergy,
Love it.
to give you practical strategies for growth,
Sounds good.
ready to unlock your potential.
Let's do it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Let's start with the foundation. Habit 1, be proactive.
Okay.
Covey says it's not just about taking initiative.
Right.
It's about understanding that you have the power to choose your response.
It's about recognizing that gap
Yeah.
between stimulus and response.
Mhm.
We all have that space
Right.
to choose
Yeah.
how we react.
He challenges those deterministic theories
Oh, yeah.
that say we're just products of our genes,
Our upbringing,
our environment.
our environment.
Right.
He uses a great analogy in the book
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
about a student asking for time off class.
Okay.
And the student says, I have to miss class for tennis practice.
Oh, interesting.
That's reactive language.
I see.
A proactive person would own their choice,
Okay.
saying something like, I've decided to prioritize tennis practice over this class. Can we find a way for me to catch up on what I miss?
That's such a powerful shift
It is.
in perspective.
Yeah.
Reminds me of that quote.
Oh, yeah.
No one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
It's so true.
Covey really emphasizes that proactive people don't give away their power.
Right.
They choose their response,
Mhm.
even their emotions.
Even their emotions, it's powerful stuff.
So powerful.
What's fascinating here is this circle of influence
Yeah.
versus the circle of concern. Covey argues that we should focus our energy on the things we can control,
Okay.
our circle of influence,
Right.
rather than getting bogged down by things we can't change.
Our circle of concern.
Our circle of concern.
That's a distinction I struggle with
yeah,
sometimes.
it's tough.
How can we practically identify what falls into each circle?
Think about the things that you're spending time and energy
Okay.
worrying about.
Yeah.
Are they things you can directly impact?
Okay.
For example, you can control your own actions,
Mm-hmm.
your attitude,
Right.
your skills.
Okay.
You can influence your immediate environment,
Okay.
maybe your team at work or your family dynamics.
Right.
But you can't control the weather,
Oh, for sure.
the economy,
Yeah.
or other people's choices.
That's a good point.
So if you find yourself stressing about a project deadline that's totally out of your control,
Yeah.
you should shift your focus
Oh.
to the parts you can influence,
Okay.
like making sure your contributions are top-notch.
Right.
And communicating proactively with your team.
Okay. So it's about taking responsibility for our own little universe.
It is.
I like that.
It's a good way to think about it.
Covey suggests a 30-day challenge to help us become more proactive.
Oh, yeah.
What are some actionable steps we can take during that time?
First, focus on your commitments.
Okay.
Make promises and keep them, even small ones.
Great.
Second, be a solution seeker.
Yeah.
When a problem arises, don't dwell on blame or complaints.
Got it.
Instead, brainstorm solutions.
Okay.
Finally, concentrate on your own growth.
Mm-hmm.
Identify areas where you want to improve and take concrete steps to learn and develop those skills.
Okay. I'm starting to feel more empowered already.
I love that.
But what happens after those 30 days?
That's the key question, right?
Right. How do we make proactivity a lasting habit?
It's about consistently choosing
Yeah.
that proactive mindset
Mm.
day after day.
Day after day.
It's like building a muscle.
Right.
The more you practice, the stronger you become.
So now that we're energized to be proactive,
Yes.
let's move on to habit 2. Begin with the end in mind.
Oh, I love this one.
This habit is all about vision and purpose,
Right.
right?
It's,
Covey encourages us to visualize the end goal,
yeah.
to really define what success means to us
Before you even start.
before we start climbing that ladder.
Yeah, it's like planning a road trip.
Yeah,
You wouldn't just hop in the car and start driving, would you?
definitely not.
You'd want to know where you're going.
I'd want to know what I want to experience along the way.
Exactly. And Covey emphasizes this distinction
Mm-hmm.
between leadership and management.
Okay.
Management is about doing things right.
Okay.
Leadership is about doing the right things.
So how does that relate to beginning with the end in mind?
It's about being the leader of your own life,
Okay.
making sure that your actions are aligned with your values
Okay.
and your goals.
I see.
This habit encourages you to create a personal mission statement,
Right.
a guiding document outlining your values and aspirations.
I love the idea of a personal mission statement.
It's powerful.
What are some tips for crafting one that truly reflects our deepest values?
Think about your core values.
All right.
What's truly important to you?
Oh.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Mm.
What do you want to be remembered for?
That's great. It sounds like it involves a lot of introspection and self-discovery.
It does, and Covey suggests using writing as a tool for this process.
Right.
Journaling, writing down your goals.
Mm.
It can all help to clarify what you truly want and how to get there.
That's a great point. I found that writing helps me to untangle my thoughts
Yeah,
and get to the heart of what matters.
absolutely.
He also talks about visualization.
Yes. He says, through imagination, we can visualize the uncreated worlds of potential that lie within us.
Wow.
Visualizing your goals,
Yeah.
seeing yourself achieving them,
Mm.
can prime your mind for success.
Right.
World-class athletes use this technique all the time.
It makes sense if we can see it in our minds. It feels more achievable.
Totally.
What about people who struggle with visualization?
That's a great question.
Are there other ways to tap into the power of beginning with the end in mind?
Absolutely. For some, it might be more helpful to write detailed descriptions of their goals,
Okay.
create a vision board with images that
Mhm.
represent their aspirations,
Mm-hmm.
or even just have regular conversations with a trusted friend or mentor about their vision for the future.
I love that.
The key is to find what works best for you.
So we've covered proactivity and beginning with the end in mind.
Yes.
Both incredibly powerful habits on their own.
Powerful stuff.
But I'm curious, how do these two concepts work together to create even more effectiveness?
That's a great question. Think of it this way.
Okay.
Proactivity provides the fuel,
Okay.
the energy to move forward,
Right.
while beginning with the end in mind provides the map, the direction.
Got it.
When you combine a clear vision of your goals
Mm-hmm.
with the proactive mindset to take action and overcome obstacles, you create this powerful force
Right.
for positive change.
That's a fantastic analogy.
Thanks.
It's like having a powerful engine in your car
Yeah.
and knowing the best route to your destination.
Yeah,
You'll get there much faster and more efficiently.
exactly.
Okay. Are we ready to dive into habit 6, synergize?
Let's do it. This is where things get really exciting.
I'm excited.
Synergy is all about the power of collaboration.
Okay.
The idea that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Covey uses examples from nature to illustrate this.
He does.
He talks about two plants growing better together because their roots intertwine,
Yes.
creating a stronger, more resilient system.
He argues that true unity comes from embracing differences,
Right.
not trying to force everyone into the same mold.
So instead of focusing on what makes us different,
Yeah,
we should focus on how our unique strengths can complement each other
absolutely.
to achieve something truly remarkable.
Precisely think about it like this.
Okay.
A symphony orchestra doesn't just have violins. You need the violins, the cellos, the horns, the percussion, all working together in harmony
Right.
to create that beautiful, powerful music.
That's a beautiful analogy.
Thank you.
And it highlights the importance of valuing and leveraging individual strengths within a team.
Absolutely.
Covey shares a powerful story about a classroom
Oh, yeah.
that achieved synergy,
Yeah.
where the students and teacher co-created something amazing together.
I love that story.
It wasn't about following a rigid lesson plan,
Yeah.
but about open communication, creativity, and trust.
That's the kind of environment you want to be in?
That's the kind of environment I'd love to be a part of.
For sure.
It sounds like synergy requires a certain level of vulnerability
It does.
and willingness to listen to different perspectives.
Absolutely. Covey recounts his own experience
Uh-huh.
creating a corporate mission statement with his team.
Okay.
They went out into nature,
Wow.
really listened to each other,
Okay.
and got vulnerable.
I can only imagine the kind of breakthroughs that can happen.
It's amazing.
When people feel safe to share their authentic selves and ideas,
It changes everything.
and the result of that experience.
They created a mission statement that deeply resonated with everyone
That's great.
because it was born from a place of genuine collaboration
Wow.
and shared vision.
So how can we apply this principle of synergy in our own lives?
That's the key question.
Whether it's at work, in our families,
Yeah.
or even in our communities.
It starts with fostering a mindset of abundance,
Okay.
believing that there's enough for everyone.
Right.
Instead of seeing every interaction as a competition,
Right.
we can look for ways to collaborate.
Yeah.
and create win-win solutions.
Covey talks about the difference between a scarcity mentality and an abundance mentality.
Oh, yeah.
People with a scarcity mentality see everything as a zero-sum game.
Right.
They're constantly comparing themselves to others, trying to prove their worth.
And that can lead to a lot of negativity and conflict.
Whereas people with an abundance mentality see the world as full of opportunity.
Yes.
They're not afraid to share credit,
Mm-hmm.
to collaborate, to celebrate each other's successes.
And that's where synergy thrives.
Right?
When we're not afraid to be vulnerable, to share our ideas, to truly listen to others.
Yeah.
That's when magic happens.
I love that.
Me too.
So it's not just about tolerating differences.
Yeah.
It's about actively seeking them out
Yeah.
and seeing them as valuable assets.
When we embrace diversity of thought and perspective,
Right.
we open ourselves up to a whole new level of creativity and innovation.
Well, I'm already feeling inspired to look for more opportunities to synergize in my own life.
I love it.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dives,
Okay.
I want to touch on one more crucial concept from the 7 Habits.
Okay.
The idea of self-renewal, or sharpening the saw.
Oh, that's such an important principle.
Covey argues that we can't be truly effective if we're not taking care of ourselves in all dimensions of our lives.
It's true.
Physically, spiritually, mentally, and social-emotionally.
He breaks it down into the 4 dimensions,
Oh.
emphasizing that each one is equally important
Right.
for maintaining a balanced and fulfilling life.
So let's dive into each dimension,
Okay?
starting with the physical.
Right.
What are some practical ways that we can sharpen the saw in this area?
Covey emphasizes the importance of exercise,
Yeah.
eating healthy foods,
Right.
getting enough sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and managing stress.
Okay.
These are like the foundational elements
Yeah.
of physical well-being.
It sounds simple, but I know I'm guilty of neglecting these basics when I get busy.
We all are.
How can we make these activities a priority when life feels overwhelming?
That's where proactivity comes in.
Uh-huh.
We have to schedule these activities into our day,
Okay.
just like we would any other important meeting or appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about striving for perfection.
Right.
It's about making small, consistent efforts to improve our physical health over time.
He also talks about the importance of pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone physically, right?
He does. He uses the analogy of weightlifting. When you challenge your muscles,
Mm-hmm.
you create tiny tears
Right.
that when they heal, make the muscle stronger.
Yeah.
It's the same with our emotional resilience.
Okay.
By pushing ourselves beyond our comfort zones,
Yeah.
we build our capacity to handle challenges and setbacks.
I can relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
I have a friend who's a personal trainer.
Uh-huh.
He's always pushing me to do one more rep, even when I think I've reached my limit.
Yeah.
It's tough in the moment,
It is.
but it's amazing how much stronger I've become, both physically and mentally.
That's great.
And it's not about pain for the sake of pain.
No.
It's about intentionally challenging yourself to grow and expand your capabilities.
I like that.
All right, next up is the spiritual dimension.
Okay.
This one can be a bit more personal, right?
Absolutely. It's about connecting with your core values,
Okay.
your inner source of strength and inspiration.
Yeah.
For some, that might involve religious practices. For others, it might be spending time in nature, meditating, or engaging in creative pursuits.
Covey finds spiritual renewal through studying the scriptures,
Yeah.
but he acknowledges that there are many different paths to spiritual growth.
Right.
The key is to find what resonates with you
Yeah.
and make time for it.
He tells a great story about a doctor
Oh, yeah.
who prescribes spending a day in nature to a patient
Oh, wow.
struggling with burnout.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful solutions are the simplest ones.
And that taking time for spiritual renewal isn't selfish.
No, it's not.
It's an investment in our ability to show up as our best selves for ourselves and for the people around us.
It's about filling your own cup so
Yeah.
you have something to give to others.
Okay, let's move on to the mental dimension.
Right.
Covey is a huge advocate for lifelong learning.
He is.
He encourages us to read, write, think critically,
Mm-hmm.
and continue expanding our minds.
Yeah.
He even suggests setting a goal of reading a book a week.
A book a week that's ambitious.
Wow, that's a lot of reading. But I love the idea of constantly challenging our assumptions and expanding our perspective.
It's about staying curious and intellectually engaged
Yeah.
throughout our lives.
Right, and we have access to so many incredible resources these days.
We do.
Books, podcasts, online courses, documentaries.
It's amazing.
There's no excuse for letting our minds stagnate.
Right.
I think sometimes we underestimate the power of simply picking up a book
Yeah.
or listening to a thought-provoking podcast.
It can really shift our perspectives.
It can really shift our perspectives and spark new ideas.
And it doesn't have to be a a huge time commitment.
Right.
Even just dedicating 15, 20 minutes a day to reading or learning something new can make a big difference.
Last but not least, let's talk about sharpening the saw in the social-emotional dimension.
Okay, this is about building and nurturing healthy relationships,
Okay.
practicing empathy, and seeking opportunities for service.
Covey talks about the importance of making deposits into our emotional bank accounts. Small acts of kindness, keeping commitments, and genuinely listening to others.
These deposits build trust
Right.
and strengthen relationships.
He also stresses the importance of apologizing sincerely when we make withdrawals,
Mm-hmm.
like when we break a promise or speak unkindly.
It's about taking responsibility for our actions
Right.
and striving to repair any damage we've caused.
So in this first part of our deep dive, we've covered 3 of Covey's 7 habits.
We have.
Proactivity beginning with the end in mind and synergy.
And we've also delved into the importance of sharpening the saw
Right.
in all 4 dimensions of our lives.
These habits and principles are interconnected,
They are.
creating a powerful framework for personal and professional effectiveness.
And it's not about achieving some kind of perfect balance.
Right.
It's about constantly striving to improve, to grow, to become our best selves.
Covey says the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule,
Yeah.
but to schedule your priorities.
So true.
It's about aligning our actions with our values,
Absolutely.
making sure that the things that matter most get our time and attention.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore these concepts even further, unpacking some of the nuances and challenges of putting these habits into practice.
Sounds great.
We'll also share some personal anecdotes and tips for integrating these principles into your daily life.
I'm looking forward to it.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the 7 habits of highly effective people.
I'm ready to unpack more of Covey's wisdom.
Let's revisit habit 1.
Okay.
Be proactive
All right.
and dig a little deeper.
You mentioned that proactive people use proactive language.
Yes.
Can you give some specific examples of how that sounds
That's
in everyday conversations?
Instead of saying, I can't,
Okay.
a proactive person might say, let me explore some options.
Okay.
Instead of saying, I have to, they might say, I choose to.
Right.
It's a subtle shift,
Yeah.
but it reflects a sense of ownership and responsibility.
It reminds me of a time when I was feeling overwhelmed with a project at work, and I was tempted to complain to my boss about the tight deadline.
Yeah.
But then I remembered the principle of proactivity.
Right.
So instead of focusing on what I couldn't control,
Yeah.
I shifted my mindset.
Good for you.
And I said to myself, okay, what steps can I take to make this manageable?
Love it.
And you know what? Just by changing my language
Right.
and focusing on solutions, I felt a lot more empowered to tackle the challenge.
That's a perfect example
It really is.
of how proactive language
Yeah.
can change our whole approach.
It's like taking back control of the narrative.
It is.
Covey suggests practicing this for 30 days to really cement those proactive muscles.
Yes, he does.
But what if you slip up?
That's going to happen.
What if you find yourself falling back into those reactive patterns?
We're all human. That's a great question.
The key is to be self-aware
Right.
and to have compassion for yourself.
Okay.
Notice when you're using reactive language.
Or dwelling in your circle of concern.
Right.
And gently guide yourself back
Yeah.
to a more proactive approach.
So it's a continuous journey of self-improvement.
Absolutely.
And it's important to remember that being proactive doesn't mean taking on everything or trying to control everything.
Right. It's not about that.
It's about focusing on what you can influence
Yes.
and letting go of the rest.
That makes sense. It's about finding that sweet spot between taking action
Mhm.
and accepting what's beyond our control.
Okay, let's revisit habit 2.
Okay.
Begin with the end in mind.
I love this one.
This habit is all about creating a personal mission statement,
It is
a guiding document for your life.
your life on a page.
It can feel a little daunting
It can.
to try to define our mission in life.
It's a deep and introspective process, but it's also incredibly empowering.
Okay.
Covey suggests asking yourself some key questions like, what do I want to be remembered for?
Wow.
What contributions do I want to make to the world?
Okay.
What principles will guide my decisions?
I love that he encourages us to think about our legacy.
It's a powerful concept.
It's not just about achieving our own goals.
Right.
It's about the impact we have on
Yeah.
others.
Absolutely. And this mission statement doesn't have to be set in stone.
Right.
It can evolve
Yeah.
as you grow
Mm-hmm.
and your priorities change.
The important thing is to have that clear sense of direction
Yes,
and to make sure that our actions are aligned with our values.
I agree.
So how do we actually go about writing this mission statement?
That's the big question.
Do you have any tips for getting started?
Covey suggests using a variety of techniques.
Okay.
Some people find it helpful to write down their values, their goals,
Okay.
and their ideal vision for the future.
Okay.
Others prefer to create a vision board
Oh, right.
with images and words that represent their aspirations.
Mm-hmm.
You can also try journaling,
Okay.
free writing,
Yeah.
or even discussing your ideas
Yeah.
with a trusted friend or mentor.
Right.
I've always found that writing helps me to clarify my thoughts.
Me too.
It's like those ideas that are just floating around in my head finally start to take shape on paper.
It's a good way to get them out.
And don't be afraid to experiment with different approaches until you find what works best for you.
That's right.
The key is to make it a personal and meaningful document.
I agree.
I remember when I first wrote my mission statement, I was surprised by how emotional the process was.
Yeah, it can be.
It really forced me to confront some deep-seated beliefs
It does.
and to really define what mattered most to me.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It's a powerful exercise in self-discovery.
It is.
And once you have that mission statement,
Mm-hmm.
you can use it as a guide
Right.
for your decisions and actions.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about habit 6.
Okay.
Synergize.
Here we go.
This habit is all about the magic that happens when people collaborate effectively.
Right, when the sum is greater than the parts.
Covey tells a great story about a team trying to come up with a new marketing campaign.
All right.
They were all experienced marketers
Okay.
with strong opinions,
Sounds familiar.
and they kept butting heads.
Oh, boy.
They were so focused on being right
Yeah.
that they couldn't see the value
Mm-hmm.
in each other's ideas.
It sounds like they were stuck in that scarcity mentality,
Exactly.
believing that there was only one right answer.
But then their manager stepped in
The hero.
and encouraged them to approach the challenge with a spirit of collaboration and openness.
Okay.
He asked them to focus on what they could learn from each other
Mm-hmm.
and to look for ways to combine their strengths.
And what happened?
Well, it wasn't easy at first.
Get put in the work.
There were still some disagreements
Sure.
and moments of frustration.
It's a process.
But they eventually started to see the value in each other's perspectives,
Good.
and they began to build on each other's ideas.
That's great.
That's the beauty of synergy. It's not about compromising or settling for the lowest common denominator.
No, it's not.
It's about creating something new and innovative.
Exact.
That wouldn't have been possible without the contributions of everyone.
Everyone involved.
And in the end, they came up with a marketing campaign that was far more creative and effective
Wow.
than anything they could have come up with on their own.
That's awesome.
It was true win-win.
I love it.
That's a great example of how synergy
It is.
can lead to extraordinary results.
Absolutely.
So how can we cultivate more synergy in our own lives?
That's a great question.
What are some practical steps
Yeah. How do we do it?
we can take?
It starts with fostering a mindset of abundance,
Okay.
believing that there's enough for everyone.
Instead of seeing every interaction as a competition,
Right.
we can look for ways to collaborate
Mm-hmm.
and create win-win solutions.
And it's about being willing to listen to understand,
Okay.
not just to respond.
That's so important.
It is.
We need to really hear what other people are saying, even if we don't agree with them.
Exactly.
And when we do that, we open ourselves up to new possibilities and perspectives.
So we've talked about proactivity,
Yeah.
beginning with the end in mind, and synergy
These 3 habits
are powerful.
are really powerful tools for personal and professional effectiveness.
Absolutely. They lay the foundation for
Yeah.
building strong relationships,
Right.
achieving our goals,
Right.
and living a more fulfilling life.
But it's important to remember that it's a journey,
Yes.
not a destination.
We're all works in progress.
Right.
There'll be times when we slip up,
Yeah.
fall back into old habits.
It happens.
The key is to be kind to ourselves, to learn from our mistakes, and to keep striving to be our best selves.
And to remember that even small steps in the right direction can make a big difference.
Absolutely. They add up over time.
Welcome back to the Top 1% Book Club.
We're wrapping up our deep dive into the 7 habits of highly effective people.
Yeah, it's been a really insightful look into these principles.
Yeah, for sure. We've covered a lot of ground proactivity, beginning with the end in mind, synergy, and sharpening the saw.
You know, one of the things that struck me throughout this deep dive is how interconnected all of these habits are.
Absolutely. They build on each other,
Yeah.
creating a powerful framework
Right.
for growth.
So what are some of the common challenges people face when they're trying to implement these habits into their everyday lives?
I think one of the biggest challenges is consistency.
Oh, for sure.
It's easy to get excited about these principles,
Right?
start strong, but then life gets in the way,
Right.
and we fall back into old patterns.
It takes real effort to make these habits stick.
It does.
What about setbacks?
Setbacks. Those are inevitable.
Right. We're not going to be perfect all the time.
Right, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to have bad days.
The key is to not get discouraged by that.
Yeah, to see them as opportunities for
Right.
learning and growth.
Covey talks about the importance of a growth mindset,
He does.
believing that our abilities can be developed.
You can always learn and improve.
So instead of saying, I'm not good at this,
Right,
we can say, I'm not good at this yet.
exactly. And use those setbacks as motivation
I like that.
to keep going.
Yeah. What about when you're dealing with other people who may not be operating from these same principles?
Oh, that can be tough.
How do we navigate those situations?
Covey talks about focusing on our own circle of influence.
Yeah.
We can't control other people's behavior,
Right.
but we can control our own responses.
Sometimes just modeling these principles can have a ripple effect
It can.
on the people around us.
Actions speak louder than words.
So what are some practical tips for integrating these habits into our daily lives?
I think one tip is to start small.
Okay.
Don't try to overhaul your whole life overnight.
Right. Choose one habit to focus on
Right.
and set realistic goals.
Absolutely. Another tip is to find an accountability partner.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Someone who can support you on your journey.
It could be a friend, a family member,
Yeah.
a mentor, even a coach,
And make it a habit to review your progress.
regularly.
Covey suggests taking some time each week to reflect on how you're doing.
Okay.
Make any necessary adjustments.
It's a journey, not a destination.
It is a journey.
These 7 habits are powerful tools
They are.
for creating a more fulfilling and effective life.
For sure. And they can benefit us in all areas.
Yeah, in our relationships, our work, our personal growth.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the 7 habits of highly effective people,
It's been a pleasure.
I encourage you to pick one habit that resonated with you and start putting it into practice today.
That's a great takeaway.
Even small steps can make a big difference.
It really can.
And remember, you have the power to choose your response, to define your vision,
Yes, you do.
and to create a life that is truly your own.
That's the power of the 7 habits.
Thanks for joining us, and be sure to check out our next deep dive on the Top 1% Book Club.